Today on Land Beat, we're going to be talking about bedding locations and specific bed creation. We are here in Western Illinois looking at a project that we have laid out a hunting and habitat strategy for the years to come. And this is a spot, kind of a west-facing slope, where we designated this as a bedding thicket. And this is one of the best spots we have with some hinge cuts. There's a lot of flush cuts around here. A whole lot of sunlight coming in, but this spot specifically had some real strategic hinge cuts laid out. And we have just this amazing bed here. There's another one right over there. There's an entry and an exit with plenty of side cover. And I always laugh about no need for overhead cover, but the way these fell, we've got overhead cover as well. But ultimately, what we have here is a known bedding location that is used a lot more than just one time a month. And this can be used or laid out appropriately to create a hunting strategy, meaning we can put an arrangement of bedding cuts that looks similar to this in close proximity to a crop field or a hunting location that may be the crop field or a food plot, and go, the distance between this bed and that blind is less than 200 yards. So the chance of seeing the deer that beds in this bed up there in daylight is very high probability. And that is what creating a habitat enhancement plan coincides with a high success rate in your hunting strategy. And so creating these is important in having success up there in the food plot. If the food plot is just done, we can still have success, but if we don't have known bedding close and we're reliant on bedding on neighboring properties, the success drastically drops. So creating a habitat plan with known bedding thickets like this in close proximity to your hunting locations with good access is what every landowner should be looking for. And in this case, great job with the chainsaw crew, and we've surrounded it with TSI. Now when this deer stands up and starts walking up to the food plot, he can be nibbling his way through already pre-established comfort cover, if you will, that doesn't have the dense woody structure, and they feel comfortable going up the hill in daylight long before the end of shooting hours. Creating this on your farm on multiple locations is likely, and I say this very strongly, but in all my years of consulting, having this or not having this is the difference between success and no tags being filled on your farm. One other thing to note when you're doing hinge cuts in your bedding thicket, because our opinion is that hinge cutting is not something that you want to use in a general TSI approach where you're thinning your forest. Some people will use FSI, but for sake of confusion, we're just going to refer to it as TSI today. But if we're doing TSI around our bedding cut, we're not using hinge cutting in that. Hinge cutting is only utilized in our bedding thickets. But one thing to note, like we will often recommend some higher hinge cuts, chest high, just to give a little bit higher cover for specific bedding purposes, but we don't do it throughout the whole area. And one of the main reasons why is hinge cuts can offer, if done correctly, incredible woody browse availability. Not only from the immediate cutting, depending on what time of year you cut it, but you'll get the browse on the tips of the branches when you bring that canopy down. But the tree will sprout generally below the cut or right at the cut. And that is tremendous food like you see here. Even though this is a hickory and not one that we would say ranks high on the list of preferred browse, but it still offers some browse potential as you see here. But if you cut everything high, a lot of this new growth is immediately out of the reach of the deer. So if everything gets cut like this, you're losing out on a tremendous amount of potential to provide woody browse available for the whitetail deer. So make sure that when you are cutting, if you're going to use some higher ones, that you're not exclusively doing high hinge cuts.